litre of petrol has the energy content of 8.9 kilowatt hours and is therefore equivalent to 3 weeks manual work. Now, how much do you pay, again, for a litre of petrol? So if energy becomes scarce, if you're using energy to do real work, to actually produce goods and services, to make yourself efficient, you know, to power a chainsaw, to use mechanical equipment, you know, to power an excavator. If you can afford that energy, then you can outcompete people who have only human energy to offer. And this is a great danger, because it means that the wealthy, the people who are already using a massive amount of energy and have become rich as a result of doing that, are going to be able to continue to make themselves super productive using energy, and will always be able to compete with poorer people around the world who aren't using energy and consequently aren't getting the incomes that energy use brings. Next slide, please. So energy use has created a huge gap between the richest people of the world and the poorest. It is really, you know, an 80-20 situation. There's an almost perfect correlation between energy use and incomes, and consequently investment, world trade, and everything that goes with it. Next slide, please. And the gap between rich and poor has tripled over the past 40-odd years. The richer people in the world earned on average 30 times the incomes of the poorer people in 1960. They're now earning about 90 times those incomes. So they're well able to outcompete the poorer people in the world, not just for energy, but for food. And that's exactly why the situation became you know, quite serious in South Africa, that food was being, which had been produced with a lot of energy, was being burned as energy. And there were food riots, of course, as you know, right around the world. Next slide, please. Now we come on to climate. And James Hansen has done a remarkable job in convincing the world that the safe upper limit for atmospheric CO2 is no more than 350 parts per million. What this means is that we have already passed that safe upper limit. The atmospheric concentration of CO2 is now 387, 388, 390, which means that we've got to extract atmospheric CO2. We've got to extract CO2 from the atmosphere if we are to avoid a catastrophic warming, and only land plants and soils can do that. It also means that we've got to phase out fossil fuels very, very rapidly, much more rapidly than the developed countries are offering in the current run-up talks in the run-up to the Copenhagen conference next month. Next slide, please. The warming is taking place in some of the most sensitive parts of the world. So it's taking place all across Canada and in Scandinavia and right through Russia. And these are the places where there is permafrost. These areas have been getting a warming of about 6 degrees centigrade. And this is, of course, where there is methane under the permafrost, and this is being released, and methane is a powerful greenhouse gas. The polar ice sheets have been melting much more rapidly than anybody expected. Other parts of the world haven't increased by nearly as much. There are still some parts that the temperatures have tended to fall. It's by no means a straightforward process. Next slide, please. So we've all seen pictures like this of the Greenland ice cap melting. BBC World Service News led on this story yesterday, saying that it is melting. It melted much more rapidly in the past five years than in the previous 5. Next slide, please. There we are. This is a story from the leading Irish daily newspaper, the Irish Times. And the worry about this is that the glaciers began melting in not just in the 80s, but the late 60s, the early 70s. We're probably going to have to go back to concentrations below 350, but 350 is a very good starting point. Next slide, please.